The rand is scrambling, but it keeps slipping as it gets caught up in the major conflicts. China has retaliated with a currency move in the trade wars. Boris Johnson is set to go ahead with a no-deal Brexit, and the U.S. markets are still left reeling from the Fed rate cut. What does this all mean for the currency? Joining me in studio to unpack is Andre Cilliers, Director and Currency Market Expert at TreasuryONE. Andre, thanks so much for your time. I mean, with everything going on that is impacting the rand right now, are you surprised that it hasn't actually weakened further than the current levels that we are seeing?
I am a bit surprised. I was really seriously looking at whether it's going to breach the 15 level today or whether it's not going to breach the level.
Touch wood.
And touch wood, it's not. But I'm still not convinced that this is all over. We've started last week with the interest rate change by the US, and then they came out and changed the repurchasing and the quantitative easing program, etc., bringing that 2 months forward. But the Federal Reserve President also came out and said we can expect more interest rate cuts, but maybe not as aggressive as what was expected. That had spurred a weakening rand, that had spurred a risk-off situation in emerging markets. And then came Mr. Trump with his tweet, another 10% tariffs on $300 billion worth of goods. And this morning early, we had the agricultural sector imports being sort of stopped by China. They weakened their currency in direct retaliation. So, you know, I'm firing a shot, you firing a shot. And I think in your intro earlier, you mentioned that now we're now going into a currency war as well. It's not a trade war, it's a currency war, it's a trade war, and this is escalating.
But the People's Bank of China coming out to say that the yuan weakening to these levels is as a result of what is going on. It's finally, you know, fallen victim to the uncertainty around the trade war. So explain to us exactly what you mean by saying that China has weakened its currency. So are you saying that this is intentional, this is deliberate? They're using a weak currency as a weapon in this trade war?
Well, let's not forget that Donald Trump had already hinted at them weakening their currency and using their currency to increase their level as exports into other countries and making use of that avenue. So they've not revalued their currency. They simply made statements, and that statements pushes the currency above certain levels. And that makes it cheaper, their exports cheaper into other currencies. It makes exports out of other countries into their country more expensive. In terms of just the US, it benefits their trade deficit or their trade, well, the American trade deficit, the Chinese trade surplus. Absolutely everything that Donald Trump doesn't want. So what can we expect from him? Mr. Trump has already said that other countries, and he's hinted that towards Europe, towards China, towards a lot of countries, that they're using their currencies to manipulate markets.
Could we expect the US Fed to maybe embark on a path or that markets had expected to be more aggressive in rate cuts? Because a tweet that did come out of Mr. Trump today was the fact that, is the Fed listening? He asked, China is manipulating their currency. Are you listening, the Fed? So could we expect that kind of response?
Well, I'm afraid that we have a bit of an interesting situation at this point in time. That the more he does that, and even if the Fed were to come out and cut interest rates, the more turmoil we're actually creating in markets. And the further that we escalate trade wars and currency wars and the discussions around that, the further you actually enhance the moving to a safe haven currency, which is the US dollar. So the more you're actually trying to change this, the more people will be buying dollars, the worse the dollar liquidity situation will become, and the stronger the dollar will become. So how do you actually stop this? You have to stop. I think it's known all over the world that a war doesn't solve any problems. Peace solves problems.
Yeah, but you need two people.
So we need two people
that's willing
to enter into a peace agreement. But that's not what we have at the moment. So I'm afraid that we're actually escalating and compounding the problem at the moment.
Where to next for the rand?
Where to next for the rand? I think it will breach the 15 level. I think we will most probably go towards the 15.20, 15.25 level. But I think we will taper out a little bit there. I think that's where we'll find value. My words this morning was also look at what happened to our bond market. We came from 795, 796. We're up at the 845 levels, 50 basis points, a weakening currency by a rand now in a little bit of more than a week. There must be value that's found for investors. So I think it will at some point stop and return to normal levels.
But for now, no going away to foreign currency places, right?
No.
Oh, right. Andre, thanks so much for your time.